Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nicole Rios. I'm one of the project leaders for the mural of the Ivy History of the Americas class. Here's Carlos Alvarez, who's also a leader, and David Aguilera. Before we start the presentation, we would like to give a special thanks and appreciation to the Nogales High School Mariachi Band and the Danza Mexica Cuauhtemoc for their blessing too. A round of applause, please. Today's presentation will be displaying key components of the three murals painted by Diego Rivera. The first one, sugarcane. The middle one, Zapata, the agrarian leader. And the last one, the liberation of the peon. All of these portray different scenes for after and during the Mexican Revolution, a harsh time for the Mexicans during the times. The mural committee decided to add additions to the mural, such as the Tierra en Libertad banner and the haciendas at the background. We also decided to make all of the three murals into a single mural. You can see the dirt going that way and the leaves in this side. My fellow classmates will now explain and discuss the origin, purpose, content, value, and limitations of the mural. All of the presentators today participated in the mural. Thank you for your attention. We will now begin with the origin of the mural.
So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Carlos Alvarez, a junior here in this high school, and I'm one of the project managers, and well, the manager for the middle mural, which is Zapata, the agrarian leader. And today I'm going to be talking about Diego Rivera. So, Diego María de la Concepción, Juan Nepomuceno, Estanislao de la Rivera y Barrientos Acosta y Rodríguez, or simply known as Diego Rivera, is one of several famous muralists of the 20th century. Diego Rivera was born on December 8, 1886, in Guanajuato, Mexico. He started his sketching career, his drawing career, at the age of 10, and he was inspired by José Posada, who is the same artist who invented the Catrina. Diego Rivera would later go on to study at the San Carlos Academy of Fine Arts in Mexico City. Rivera will travel to Europe to enrich his studies, but when the situation in Mexico got worse in 1914, Diego Rivera decided to come back to sketch the problems within Mexico. By 1929, Diego Rivera married the artist Frida Kahlo. The couple would eventually move to the United States because of the conflict with the Christian church in Mexico around 1930, which targeted the communist ideals of the artist. Diego Rivera was a communist, and some of my peers right here will talk more about that later on in the presentation. During his time in the United States, Diego Rivera would be hired to make a mural for the communist leader Vladimir Lenin. The Rockefellers neutralized his work due to the so-called Red Scare, which the United States was experiencing at the time. Diego lost his wife in 1954 and married Emma Hurtado, who was his art dealer, the following year. Diego Rivera's health was in decline at the time, and he traveled around the world to find a cure for his cancer, but unfortunately, he couldn't find any cure. Diego Rivera died November 24, 1957 due to heart complications in Mexico City, and to this day, his works are preserved in the MoMA Museum. Thank you.
Now I will be presenting about the MoMA Museum in New York, where all of these paintings are now displayed. So it all started when Diego Rivera was sent to Russia by the Mexican Communist Party for the 10th anniversary of the Russian Revolution. There, Diego Rivera met Alfred Bard. Alfred Bard is the director and founder of the Museum of Modern Art. Alfred Bard was looking for fresh new paintings, and Diego Rivera was at the top of his list. The MoMA Museum with the help of the Rockefellers, paid Diego Rivera to install himself in New York, and in an empty room, he started making these portable murals. He made these 8 portable murals in steel framed cement slabs with the help of only 2 assistants. 5 of the 8 murals were based on his previous works in Mexico City, and 3 of the other murals were based in the Great Depression era in New York City. Now we'll lead to talking about the muralist movement.
Good afternoon. My name is Jorge Armenta, and today I'm going to talk about the muralist movement in Mexico. So the muralist movement in Mexico was the promotion of socially and politically charged murals paintings across Mexico. This was intended to unify the country after the bloody and long Mexican Revolution. This spanned from the 1920s all the way to the 1970s. This movement was started nearly 100 years ago, in 1921, when Jose Vasconcelos was appointed as the Secretary of Public Education in Mexico. He wanted to uplift the Native American culture and promote the new revolutionary ideals of the government. He thought that painting public mural paintings across public buildings will further promote these ideals to the literate population in Mexico. He thought that doing this will promote the revolutionary ideals and therefore inform the illiterate population. He further wanted to promote these ideals and carry on the new revolutionary agenda of the new government. This movement was carried forward by three main artists, also known as the Big Three, which were Diego Rivera, David Siqueiros, and Jose Orozco. This mural movement also carried on to the 21st century and also displayed political, social, and social messages. Thank you, and we'll now further with my partner, David.
Good evening, I'm David Aguilera, and I will be discussing the artistic influences and methods that Diego Rivera kept in mind in order to complete this murals. In terms of artistic methods, Diego Rivera used the Renaissance technique known as fresco. A fresco is when the bar colors are applied to a hard surface, usually a wall, in this case a portable salon panel. This demonstrates the influence that Renaissance art had on the artist. He actually went to Italy to study the Renaissance paintings done by Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci. And one of the ways in which we can observe this influence is in terms of composition. For example, we can see the way in which the figures in the foreground make a pyramid. This can also be seen throughout many other Renaissance paintings. And well, another influence on Diego Rivera that formed this mural would be the post-impressionist movement, especially the artist Paul Cézanne. One of the ideals of Paul Cézanne is that art should be made through basic geometric shapes and through bright colors. And this really influenced the style of Diego Rivera. And he also studied the art of Mexico, especially the indigenous societies such as the Mayan and the Aztecs. He particularly studied Mayan muralists, such as one technique that he gained from that experience would be the fact that the Mayans told a story through panels, similar to how comic books nowadays tell a story, through separate sections. And in a way, the manner in which our group decided to format the mural also reflects that influence, because here in the first mural, we chose to demonstrate the exploitation, as Rivera depicted it, of the workers, that is, before the revolution, really. And in the middle, we can see the leadership of that revolution, Emilio Zapata, and the start of the movement. And in the last mural, we can see the revolution itself taking place. One element that we can see throughout the paintings of Diego Rivera is the sugarcane carrier. Maybe some of you are familiar with the way Rivera has portrayed flower carriers throughout his career. And this mural in specific was designed to create a contrast between the life that the hacendados, or the high class, the slave owners, the land owners, had, in contrast with the life that the workers themselves had who were exploited. They were treated as slaves. And this photo represents the two characters and the conflict between them that is going to form and cause the revolution. We can, in the middle mural, we can see Zapata represented as the hero of the revolution. This idealistic viewpoint on him opposes the description that U.S. and Mexican newspapers had on him. They really saw him as a bandit, as a criminal who only went around, raping and burning haciendas. And we can see how Zapata and the Zapatistas didn't really have a lot of weapons in their disposal. They actually are using basic gardening tools that were used in the sugarcane plantations in Morelos. These two murals specifically represent the southern part of Mexico, in Morelos especially. The third mural focuses more on the northern division of the revolution. That includes the Villistas, which operated mainly in Chihuahua and Sonora. And the fire at the back really emphasizes the violence that took place in this revolution. The cause itself was to liberate the peons, and so that's where we get the title, The Liberation of the Peon. Here the peon is tied to a log, and his allies are rescuing him. Many people have interpreted this as a parallel to Jesus Christ and how he ascended from his crucifixion, and we can see the followers of Christ lamenting for Christ. Although Diego Rivera never really stated, or we don't know in fact if he meant this to be inspired that way, but the fact is that he never really put any direct religious imagery in any of his murals. Thank you very much. Now, my fellow partners will be talking about the purpose of these murals.
Good afternoon, my name is Ana Espinosa, and I will be talking about the Syndicate of Technical Workers, Painters, and Sculptors. So, in 1922, Rivera, Siqueiros, and Orozco created the Syndicate of Technical Painters, Workers, and Sculptors. This syndicate was put in place to unite artists that wish to establish standards of art representing Mexico and its history. The syndicate directed their efforts towards peasants, workers, and soldiers, or the Holy Trinity in Mexican society. The syndicate their goal was to paint art that portrayed a clear picture of who was a hero, such as revolutionaries Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa, and who was a villain, such as former President Porfirio Diaz. They wished to paint the daily lives and struggles of common people who marked the departure from pre-revolutionary art, which often echoed European trends. And I will read an excerpt from the Syndicate of Technical Workers and Painters manifesto written by David Siqueiros in 1922. We repudiate the so-called easel art and all such art which springs from ultra-intellectual circles, for it's essentially aristocratic. We hail the monumental expression of art because such art is public property. We proclaim that this being the moment of social transition from the decrepit to a new order. The markers of beauty must invest their greatest efforts in the main of materializing an art valuable to the people. Our supreme objective in art, which is today an expression of individual pleasure, is to create beauty for all, beauty that enlightens and stirs to struggle. Thank you.